In 2001, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone exploded onto the screen, turning a young boy with a lightning scar, a hidden world of magic, and a cast of rising stars into a global phenomenon. More than 2 decades later, the Harry Potter franchise remains one of the most beloved in cinematic history, but the cast's journeys have taken many different turns. Some went on to build incredible careers, some quietly stepped away from the spotlight, and others faced personal struggles that few ever knew about. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Harry Potter cast and where they are now. At number 20, Richard Griffiths. He played Vernon Dursley and became one of the franchise's most quietly powerful presences. He wasn't magical, he wasn't kind, and he certainly wasn't welcoming. But as Uncle Vernon Harry's grumpy, red-faced guardian Richard Griffiths brought an unforgettable mix of bluster, denial, and theatrical rage to every scene inside number 4 Privet Drive. Born July 31st, 1947, Griffiths was already a celebrated British stage and screen actor by the time Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone began filming. He was 54 years old during production and had already earned acclaim for roles in Withnail and I and The History Boys. While Uncle Vernon appeared only in the early Potter films, Griffiths made every moment count. His booming voice, comedic timing, and ability to play outrage with a hint of absurdity gave the character depth far beyond the page. Fans loved to hate him, and that was the point. Behind the scenes, Griffiths was the opposite of Vernon, kind, witty, and deeply respected by his co-stars. Daniel Radcliffe would later call him a mentor, saying, "He taught me the importance of listening, of reacting, of living in the moment." Outside the Harry Potter series, Griffiths continued to work steadily in film and theater, including major roles in The History Boys, Sleepy Hollow, Stage Beauty, and Pirates of the Caribbean. On Stranger Tides, his talent earned him a Laurence Olivier Award and a Tony for Best Actor in a Play. But in March 2013, Richard Griffiths passed away at the age of 65 from complications following heart surgery. His death came as a shock to many in the industry. He had remained active and passionate about acting until the very end. Tributes poured in, not just from fans, but from colleagues across the globe. Radcliffe, who worked with him again in Equus, said, "He was by my side every step of the way." Griffiths never had children, but left behind a powerful legacy on both stage and screen. At number 19, Fiona Shaw. She played Petunia Dursley, a woman torn between resentment and fear. Every story needs a contrast to the magical, and Fiona Shaw brought it in quiet, chilling waves. As Petunia Dursley, Harry's cold and repressed aunt, she delivered a performance that was equal parts bitter, broken, and strangely human. Born July 10th, 1958, Fiona Shaw was 42 years old when Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone began filming. A classically trained Irish actress and a force on the stage, Shaw was already a legend in British theater circles, known for her commanding roles in Medea, Electra, and Hedda Gabler. In the films, Petunia barely raised her voice, but her silence spoke volumes. Shaw's portrayal turned a supporting role into something more complex. She wasn't just cruel, she was terrified, haunted, and quietly ashamed of the magical world she'd rejected. Though her screen time across the series was limited, she left a lasting impression, especially in the Order of the Phoenix deleted scene where Petunia reveals she lost a sister the day Lily died. That moment, still beloved by fans, hinted at the pain beneath the surface. After Harry Potter, Shaw's career only grew stronger. She appeared in HBO's True Blood, the Coen brothers' The Tragedy of Macbeth, and films like The Black Dahlia and Ammonite. But her major resurgence came with Killing Eve, where she played Carolyn Martins, the sharp, deadpan MI6 boss, a role that earned her widespread acclaim and a BAFTA nomination. More recently, she starred in Andor, the Disney Star Wars series, as Marva Andor, a rebel mother figure whose monologue in the series finale was hailed as one of the most powerful speeches in recent TV history. Now 66, Fiona Shaw remains one of the most respected actresses in both stage and screen. She is married to economist Sonali Durrani-Agala, and the couple lives a private life split between Ireland and London. At number 18, Harry Melling. He played Dudley Dursley, the spoiled cousin who changed more than anyone expected. Before Hogwarts, before magic, before wands, Harry lived under the stairs, and above those stairs was Dudley Dursley, entitled, whiny, and proud of his 36th birthday presents. As the obnoxious cousin who tormented Harry, Harry Melling gave the Dursleys their punchline and their punch. Born March 13th, 1989, Melling was just 12 years old when he was cast as Dudley in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. At the time, he was a drama school student with no major credits, just a round face, a mischievous grin, and a talent for getting under your skin. Melling appeared in 5 of the 8 Harry Potter films, evolving from a spoiled brat into a teenage bully. and finally into a young man who awkwardly offered a hint of redemption in Deathly Hallows, Part 1. That scene, though cut from the final film, showed Dudley shaking Harry's hand, a moment fans still talk about today. What many fans didn't realize is that Melling underwent a dramatic physical transformation during the series. He lost so much weight between films that he was almost recast, but producers allowed him to return in Deathly Hallows with facial prosthetics. After Harry Potter, Melling disappeared from headlines, but not from acting. He trained at the prestigious London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, LAMDA, and slowly rebuilt his career, not as a former child star, but as a serious actor. And it worked. He also starred in The Queen's Gambit as Harry Beltic, a soft-spoken chess player who helped Anya Taylor-Joy's Beth Harmon sharpen her skills and briefly her heart. Now 36, Melling continues to work steadily in film and theater, with many critics praising his transformation from the boy who played Dudley to one of the most versatile young actors in Britain. He keeps a low public profile, has no official social media, and rarely speaks about Harry Potter, but when he does, it's with gratitude. At number 17, Alan Rickman. He played Severus Snape and gave the series its most complex, unforgettable soul. He was cold, cruel, and always lurking in the shadows, but when the truth came out, he wasn't the villain, he was the hero we never saw coming. Alan Rickman's portrayal of Severus Snape in the Harry Potter films is widely considered one of the greatest performances in modern fantasy cinema, layered, tortured, and devastating. Born February 21st, 1946, Rickman was 54 when Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone began filming. He was already a titan of stage and screen, having stunned audiences as the villain Hans Gruber in Die Hard, the seductive Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and in dozens of acclaimed roles in British theater. He didn't win an Oscar for it. He wasn't even nominated, but ask any fan, Rickman's Snape was the spine of the series. After Harry Potter, Rickman continued working on a range of projects, from indie dramas like Snowcake to romantic roles in Love Actually and voice work in Alice in Wonderland. His final performance was the voice of Absalom the Caterpillar in Alice Through the Looking Glass, released posthumously. On January 14th, 2016, Alan Rickman died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 69. His illness had been kept private, and the news devastated fans and colleagues around the world. Tributes poured in not just from the film industry, but from audiences who had grown up with him. The phrase "always" became more than a line from a movie, it became a memorial. Today, Alan Rickman's portrayal of Snape lives on in memes, essays, tribute videos, and every teary-eyed rewatch of the Prince's Tale sequence in Deathly Hallows, Part 2. At number 16, Maggie Smith. She played Professor McGonagall, strict, brilliant, and beloved beyond words. She didn't raise her voice often, but when she did, the entire Great Hall listened. As Professor Minerva McGonagall, Maggie Smith embodied every student's ideal teacher. Fiercely intelligent, quietly compassionate, and absolutely not to be trifled with. With her signature pointed hat and piercing gaze, she brought elegance, discipline, and dry wit to the halls of Hogwarts. Born December 28, 1934, Dame Maggie Smith was 66 when she first appeared in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in 2001, but by that point she was already a two-time Academy Award winner and one of Britain's most decorated actresses with a career spanning over 40 years in film, theater, and television. From the prime of Miss Jean Brodie to A Room with a View, Smith had already secured her place among acting royalty. Harry Potter simply introduced her to a new generation. But behind the scenes, Maggie Smith was quietly fighting her own battle. During the filming of Half-Blood Prince in 2007, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She kept working. She completed the entire series without ever letting her health show in her performance. In later interviews, she admitted it was one of the most physically exhausting roles of her career, but that the loyalty of the fans made it worth it. After Harry Potter, Smith's fame only grew. She starred as the formidable Dowager Countess Violet Crawley in Downton Abbey, a role that earned her 3 Emmy Awards and even more global acclaim. She reprised the character in 2 Downton films and appeared in Netflix's A Boy Called Christmas and the sequel Downton Abbey, A New Era. Now 90 years old, Dame Maggie Smith remains active in select projects. Though she keeps a private personal life, she has 2 sons, both involved in the arts, and divides her time between London and the countryside. At number 15, Michael Gambon. He played Albus Dumbledore, the wise leader with a secret burden. He stood at the head of the table in the Great Hall, a twinkle in his eye and a storm behind his silence. As the second actor to portray Albus Dumbledore, Michael Gambon stepped into the most iconic role in the wizarding world and gave it his own distinct weight. fate. Born October 19th, 1940, Sir Michael Gambon was 63 when he took over the role in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban in 2004, following the death of Richard Harris. At the time, Gambon was already a titan of the British stage, known for his versatility and thunderous presence. He played Dumbledore across 6 films, culminating in the heartbreaking final scenes of Half-Blood Prince and the quietly powerful flashbacks in Deathly Hallows. Through it all, Gambon brought a gravity that grounded the fantasy, a reminder that even the strongest wizards carry scars. Beyond Harry Potter, his credits included The King's Speech, Victoria and Abdul, Paddington, Layer Cake, and a long list of award-winning theater performances. He was knighted in 1998 for services to drama. In September 2023, Sir Michael Gambon passed away at the age of 82 following a bout of pneumonia. He died peacefully with his wife and son at his bedside. At number 14, Robbie Coltrane. He played Rubeus Hagrid and gave the series its beating heart. He was the first magical face we saw bursting through a door with a birthday cake and the words, "You're a wizard, Harry." As Rubeus Hagrid, Robbie Coltrane didn't just play a character. He embodied kindness, loyalty, and wonder. Half giant, keeper of keys, and the only adult in the wizarding world who never spoke down to children. Born March 30th, 1950, Coltrane was 50 when he first appeared in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. By then, he was already a Scottish acting legend best known for his gritty detective role in Cracker, his comedic work in The Young Ones, and as Valentin Zukovsky in 2 James Bond films. But it was Hagrid that made him beloved across generations. Towering and gentle, Coltrane brought the character to life with a warmth no CGI could replicate. His deep voice, soft eyes, and booming laugh made him the emotional anchor of the early films, a protector to Harry, and a surrogate father figure in a world that could be cold and cruel. He appeared in all 8 films, one of the few actors to do so, and his final moment in Deathly Hallows Part 2, carrying Harry's seemingly lifeless body through the Forbidden Forest, remains one of the most emotional images in the franchise. After Harry Potter, Coltrane appeared in Great Expectations, Pixar's Brave voicing Lord Dingwall, and the Channel 4 drama National Treasure, where he starred alongside Julie Walters in a haunting performance about fame and scandal. But in his later years, Coltrane struggled with health issues, particularly osteoarthritis, which left him in a wheelchair and in constant pain. On October 14th, 2022, Robbie Coltrane passed away at the age of 72. His agent and longtime friend Belinda Wright called him a unique talent, and fans around the world mourned the loss of the man who made the magical world feel safe. At number 13, Helena Bonham Carter. She played Bellatrix Lestrange and turned chaos into unforgettable art. Wild hair, mad eyes, a high-pitched laugh that chilled the bones. Bellatrix Lestrange wasn't just a villain, she was a storm, and Helena Bonham Carter played her with a kind of joyful madness no one else could have pulled off. Born May 26, 1966, Bonham Carter was already one of the most acclaimed and eccentric actresses of her generation, before stepping into the Harry Potter universe. From a room with a view to Fight Club, she had carved out a career playing women who were anything but ordinary. She joined the Harry Potter series in Order of the Phoenix 2007, and from the moment she appeared whispering curses and wreaking havoc, she stole every scene. Bellatrix was cruel, unhinged, and utterly loyal to Voldemort, but Bonham Carter made her fascinating. She brought a dangerous unpredictability to the role, equal parts theatrical and terrifying, and her duel with Molly Weasley in Deathly Hallows Part 2 became one of the most talked about moments in the entire series. After Harry Potter, Bonham Carter continued her reign as the queen of quirky darkness. She worked with Tim Burton, her then partner, on films like Dark Shadows, Alice in Wonderland, and Sweeney Todd. She took on prestigious roles in The King's Speech, Les Miserables, and Cinderella, but one of her most celebrated recent performances came as Princess Margaret in seasons 3 and 4 of The Crown, a role that earned her critical acclaim and award nominations. Now 58, she continues to act in film, television, and stage. At number 12, Ralph Fiennes. He played Lord Voldemort and brought fear to life without a nose. He didn't arrive until the 4th film, but when he did, he changed everything. As Lord Voldemort, the most feared dark wizard in wizarding history, Ralph Fiennes redefined villainy in fantasy cinema. Cold, calculating, and terrifyingly calm, his version of He Who Must Not Be Named wasn't just scary, he was magnetic. Born December 22nd, 1962, Fiennes was already one of the most respected actors in the world by the time he joined Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in 2000. 2005. With 2 Oscar nominations under his belt for Schindler's List and The English Patient, Fiennes brought a classical weight and Shakespearean menace to the role. His transformation was physical. No nose, pale skin, snake-like features, all enhanced by visual effects. But it was Fiennes' voice and stillness that made Voldemort truly menacing. He didn't need to shout to control a room. A whisper, "Harry Potter, the boy who lived, come to die," was enough to freeze an entire theater. He played Voldemort through the series' darkest chapters, from resurrection to downfall, and became a symbol of evil that transcended the screen. Yet in real life, Fiennes was thoughtful, articulate, and surprisingly amused by how much children feared him. After Harry Potter, Fiennes returned to his roots in drama and theater. He took on powerful roles in The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Constant Gardener, The King's Man, and reprised his character as M in the James Bond series. He also directed and starred in The Invisible Woman and The White Crow, showcasing his talents behind the camera. Most recently, he starred in The Menu 2022, earning critical praise for his darkly comedic performance as a manipulative celebrity chef. At 62, he remains one of the most in-demand actors in the industry, shifting effortlessly between stage, screen, and art house projects. At number 11, Mark Williams. He played Arthur Weasley, the dad who made magic feel wonderfully ordinary. He didn't wield the Elder Wand or ride a dragon into battle, but somehow Arthur Weasley stole every scene with a question as simple as, what exactly is the function of a rubber duck? Mark Williams brought life to one of the most quietly beloved characters in the Harry Potter universe, the eccentric muggle-obsessed patriarch of the Weasley family. With a sweater vest, glasses, and permanent curiosity, he made magic feel human. Born August 22nd, 1959, Williams was 41 when he first appeared in Chamber of Secrets, 2002. He was already a familiar face in British comedy thanks to The Fast Show, Red Dwarf, and Bottom, but it was Harry Potter that introduced him to a global audience. After Harry Potter, Williams didn't slow down. In 2013, he took on the title role in the BBC series Father Brown, a crime-solving Catholic priest in 1950s England. The show became a surprise hit and has since run for over a decade, making him a staple of daytime British TV. He also made guest appearances in Doctor Who, Shakespeare and Hathaway, and several film comedies. Now 65, Williams remains active in both acting and voice work. He lives a quiet life in the UK with his family, far from the red carpets, and remains fond of his time in the Potter universe. At number 10, Julie Walters. She played Molly Weasley, the mother figure who gave the series its fiercest love. She wasn't a professor, a warrior, or a chosen one. She was a mother, but when the moment came, she delivered the most unforgettable line in the entire series.
Not my daughter, you bitch!
As Molly Weasley, matriarch of the red-haired brood, Julie Walters gave the Harry Potter films one of their most grounding, lovable characters. Fierce, funny, and full of heart, she wasn't just a background mom, she was the soul of the Weasley family. Born February 22nd, 1950, Julie Walters was 50 when she first appeared in The Sorcerer's Stone. Already a British acting legend, she had earned an Oscar nomination for educating Rita, 1983, starred in Billy Elliot, Calendar Girls, and was a frequent collaborator with Victoria Wood. But it was Harry Potter that introduced her to an entirely new generation. Walters played Molly across 7 films, from welcoming Harry into the Weasley home like one of her own, to her heroic duel with Bellatrix Lestrange in Deathly Hallows, Part 2. That final moment, protective, primal, unforgettable, turned Molly from lovable mum into fan favorite legend. After Harry Potter, Walters continued her career with roles in Mamma Mia, Paddington, Brooklyn, Mary Poppins Returns, and as the voice of the narrator in Brave. But in 2020, Walters revealed something few had known. She had been diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer in 2018. She underwent surgery and chemotherapy and is now in remission. The diagnosis caused her to step back from acting and focus on her health and family. Now 75, Walters lives a private life with her husband Grant Roffey on a farm in West Sussex. She occasionally gives interviews, often humorous and reflective, and continues to advocate for better cancer awareness and NHS support in the UK. At number 9, Alfred Enoch. He played Dean Thomas, a quiet presence who later found his voice on much bigger stages. He didn't cast the biggest spells, he didn't duel dark wizards, but Dean Thomas, played by Alfred Enoch, was part of Harry's journey from day one, a loyal Gryffindor, a member of Dumbledore's army, and one of the few students who stood up when it mattered most. Born December 2nd, 1988, Alfred Enoch was just 12 years old when he was cast in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, his very first professional acting role. With his calm presence and easy charm, he appeared in 7 of the 8 Harry Potter films, quietly quickly becoming one of the most recognizable background faces in Harry's year. After Harry Potter, Alfred Enoch took a path few expected. He stepped away from blockbuster films and focused on building his craft, studying at the University of Oxford, earning a degree in modern languages, and honing his acting in classical theater. And then in 2014, he exploded back into the spotlight. Enoch landed the role of Wes Gibbons in Shonda Rhimes' How to Get Away with Murder, starring opposite Viola Davis. His performance as the driven, conflicted law student captivated American audiences and introduced him to a global fan base far beyond Hogwarts. Over the next few years, Enoch took on a series of critically acclaimed roles. He starred in the BBC's Troy Fall of a City, headlined London's West End in Red, and appeared in Foundation on Apple TV+. Now 36, Enoch continues to blend stage and screen, choosing roles with purpose. He is also a vocal advocate for racial equality and representation in the UK arts industry, often speaking out about the need for more inclusive storytelling. At number 8, Evanna Lynch. She played Luna Lovegood and turned quiet oddness into unforgettable magic. She wore radish earrings, she read the Quibbler upside down, and she saw beauty in things no one else noticed. As Luna Lovegood, Evanna Lynch gave the Harry Potter series one of its most enchanting characters, gentle, peculiar, and quietly wise. She didn't need to cast big spells, she simply was magical. Born August 16th, 1991, Lynch was just 14 when she made her debut in Order of the Phoenix 2007, but her journey into the wizarding world wasn't typical. She was a fan before she was cast, deeply connected to the books during her childhood, and even writing letters to J.K. Rowling. Her story inspired millions. She beat out over 15,000 hopefuls at an open audition, and when she walked into frame as Luna with her faraway stare and sing-song voice, it felt like the book had come to life. Over the next 4 films, Luna became a symbol of authenticity. She was never the loudest in the room, but she always said the most important thing. Lynch's performance turned her into a fan favorite and one of the emotional anchors of the final battle at Hogwarts. After Harry Potter, Lynch continued acting in indie films like My Name is Emily, Addiction, A 60s Love Story, and GBF. She also appeared on the West End stage and competed in Dancing with the Stars 2018, where she surprised everyone by making it to the finals. She's written essays, hosted podcasts, and in 2021 published a deeply personal memoir titled The Opposite of Butterfly Hunting, which explored her journey through recovery, fame, and self-acceptance. Critics praised it for its raw honesty and poetic insight. Now 33, Evanna Lynch splits her time between creative projects and activism. She's active on social media, where she shares messages of compassion, creativity, and causes she believes in, often inspiring young fans to be unapologetically themselves. At number 7, James and Oliver Phelps. They played Fred and George Weasley, the twin pranksters who gave Hogwarts its laughter and one of its saddest goodbyes. Whether they were sneaking in dung bombs, launching fireworks in Umbridge's face, or running a joke shop during wartime, Fred and George Weasley weren't just comic relief, they were rebellion with a smile. And behind those grins were real-life twins James and Oliver Phelps, 2 newcomers who made the world fall in love with mischief. Born February 25th, 1986, the Phelps brothers were just 14 when they attended an open audition with no prior acting experience and landed 2 of the most beloved roles in the series. Over the next 10 years, they grew up before our eyes as Hogwarts resident rule breakers and fan favorites. James played Fred, Oliver played George, and though fans often confused who was who on screen, their chemistry was effortless. After Harry Potter, the twins continued working together, appearing in films like Danny and the Human Zoo and Own Worst Enemy, as well as hosting their own travel docuseries Fantastic Friends, where they explore the globe with fellow cast members. Now 39, James and Oliver have built careers that honor their Potter roots, but also push beyond them. They make frequent appearances at fan conventions, support charity work, and remain close with many of their former castmates. At number 6, Matthew Lewis. He played Neville Longbottom and became the definition of a late-blooming hero. When the Harry Potter series began, Neville Longbottom was a punchline forgetful, clumsy, and always one step behind. But by the final film, he wasn't just standing with Harry, he was leading the charge. Born June 27th, 1989, Lewis was just 11 when he was cast as Neville. He beat out hundreds of young actors and over the next decade transformed from a nervous side character into one of the franchise's most powerful forces. He famously wore fake teeth, padded cheeks, and ill-fitting clothes to play early Neville, bearing his natural good looks to become the awkward underdog. But by Order of the Phoenix, fans noticed something had changed. So had Neville. And in Deathly Hallows, Part 2, Lewis delivered one of the most unforgettable moments of the series, walking alone through a destroyed Hogwarts, standing up to Voldemort, pulling the Sword of Gryffindor from the Sorting Hats and slaying Nagini. Now 35, Lewis has built a reputation as a serious actor, both in the UK and abroad. He's married to Angela Jones, an American event planner he met at a Harry Potter event in Orlando. They wed in 2018 and now live a relatively low-key life, splitting time between the UK and the US. At number 5, Bonnie Wright. She played Ginny Weasley and went from shy younger sister to the woman who stole the Chosen One's heart. In the early films, she barely spoke, but by the final battle, she was on the front lines, wand raised, fearless, and standing beside Harry. As Ginny Weasley, Bonnie Wright had one of the quietest beginnings and one of the most transformative arcs in the entire Harry Potter series. She wasn't just Ron's little sister, she became a warrior, a leader, and eventually Harry's future wife. Born February 17th, 1991, Wright was only 9 years old when she was cast in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It was her very first audition her brother encouraged her to try out because he thought she looked like Ginny. The producers agreed. Instead of chasing the Hollywood spotlight, she stepped behind the camera. Wright studied film at the University of the Arts London and went on to create her own production company, Bon Bon Lumiere. She directed short films, art pieces, and even music videos, including the 2018 single Iguana Bird by Pete Yorn and Scarlett Johansson. In 2022, Bonnie Wright married Andrew Lococo in an intimate ceremony on a farm in California. The wedding, like her life, was quiet, nature-focused, and far from the world of red carpets. Today at 34, she continues to work on film, activism, and creative storytelling, but she remains deeply connected to her Potter roots. She appears at fan conventions, supports reunion projects, and in interviews often reflects on how playing Ginny shaped her adolescence. At number 4, Tom Felton. He played Draco Malfoy, the boy born into darkness, and the actor who stepped back into the light. Blonde hair, cold stare, a voice dripping with arrogance. As Draco Malfoy, Tom Felton gave Harry Potter its perfect foil, a character fans loved to hate, then slowly came to understand. He wasn't just a schoolyard bully, he was a child raised in fear, twisted by bloodlines and pressure, and Felton captured every crack in the armor. Born September 22nd, 1987, Felton was just 13 when he first appeared in Sorcerer's Stone, but it wasn't his first time in front of a camera. He'd already starred in films like The Borrowers and Anna and the King. Still, Draco Malfoy made him a global star. After Harry Potter, Felton tried everything. Thrillers Rise of the Planet of the Apes, period dramas Belle, true crime Megan Levy, and even fantasy TV The Flash. He built a career on range, refusing to let Malfoy define him, but fame came with weight. Felton has been open about the mental and emotional toll of growing up in the spotlight. The confusion, the expectations, the search for identity after playing a role that followed him everywhere. In 2022, he released a candid memoir titled Beyond the Wand, the magic and mayhem of growing up a wizard. It became a bestseller and struck a chord with fans worldwide. Now 37, Felton continues to act, write, and make music. He's a singer-songwriter with several acoustic EPs and often posts guitar sessions on social media. He appears at Harry Potter events, supports charities, and maintains close friendships with his co-stars, especially Emma Watson, whom he's spoken fondly of in interviews. At number 3, Rupert Grint. He played Ron Weasley, the loyal friend, the heart of the trio, and the boy who reminded us that bravery comes in many forms. He wasn't the chosen one. He wasn't the brightest witch of his age, but without Ron Weasley, Harry wouldn't have made it past year 1. Rupert Grint brought Ron to life with messy red hair, a nervous laugh, and a warmth that held the Harry Potter trio together. Born August 24th, 1988, Grint was just 11 years old when he was cast as Ron, and like many of the young actors, Potter was his very first film. But from the moment he appeared on screen with a mouthful of sweets on the Hogwarts Express, he stole scenes with effortless timing and charm. After Deathly Hallows wrapped in 2011, Grint, unlike his co-stars, didn't rush back into the spotlight. He chose smaller, riskier roles in indie films like Cherry Bomb, Wild Target, and Driving Lessons. He also dipped into theater, appearing in the West End production of Mojo, and later on Broadway in It's Only a Play. But perhaps his most surprising pivot came in 2019 when he starred in M. Night Shyamalan's psychological thriller series Servant on Apple TV. The show was a critical success, and Grint's performance as the emotionally spiraling Julian earned praise for its depth and maturity. Now 36, Grint lives a much quieter life than fans might expect. In 2020, he and longtime partner, actress Georgia Groom-Angus, Thongs and Perfect Snogging welcomed their first child, a daughter named Wednesday. At number 2, Emma Watson. Watson. She played Hermione Granger, the girl who carried the answers, the wand, and sometimes the entire trio. She walked into our lives with a bushy head of hair, a bossy tone, and a hand raised before every other student. And by the time the battle ended, she wasn't just the brightest witch of her age, she was the hero behind the hero. Born April 15th, 1990, Watson was just 10 when she was cast in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone with no previous acting experience. She had only ever performed in school plays, but from the moment she corrected Ron's pronunciation of Leviosa, it was clear this was no ordinary child actress. Over the next decade, Watson grew into the role, and the role grew with her. Hermione became the moral compass of the trio, the strategist, the heart. She was the reason they survived as often as they did, and Watson played every note of her journey from tears to triumph with clarity and strength. After Harry Potter, Watson could have coasted on fame. Instead, she reinvented herself. She attended Brown University and graduated with a degree in English literature in 2014. She carefully chose her film roles, from The Perks of Being a Wallflower to Sofia Coppola's The Bling Ring to the live-action Beauty and the Beast, where she stepped into yet another iconic character, Belle. In 2014, she was appointed a UN Women Goodwill Ambassador and launched the He for She campaign, calling for gender equality and solidarity for men around the world. She gave viral speeches, graced magazine covers not for fashion but for thought leadership, and became one of the most influential voices of her generation. Now 35, Watson is deliberate with her projects, both artistic and humanitarian. She's worked with sustainable fashion brands, promoted girls' education, and continues to support causes from climate action to digital safety. At number 1, Daniel Radcliffe. He played Harry Potter, the boy who lived, and the man who rewrote what child stardom could become. He wore the scar, he held the wand, and for millions of fans around the world, he was the boy who lived. Daniel Radcliffe stepped into the most iconic role of a generation at just 11 years old. A quiet boy from West London suddenly cast as the face of an 8-film billion-dollar franchise. And yet, he carried it all with grace beyond his years. Born July 23rd, 1989, Radcliffe had only one acting credit, a TV adaptation of David Copperfield when he was cast in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Director Chris Columbus and author J.K. Rowling agreed. He was Harry, no question. From innocent beginnings to the emotional storm of Deathly Hallows, Radcliffe gave Harry depth, weariness, and soul. His performance in the final 2 films, particularly the quiet acceptance of death in the Forbidden Forest, remains one of the most moving moments in fantasy cinema. But Daniel Radcliffe's most impressive magic came after Hogwarts. He didn't disappear, he didn't crash, he chose to become an actor on his own terms. He made bold, unpredictable choices, shocking Broadway audiences with Equus, earning acclaim in musicals like How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, and taking on eccentric roles in Swiss Army Man, Kill Your Darlings, The Woman in Black, and Guns Akimbo. In 2022, he starred as Weird Al Yankovic in the parody biopic Weird: The Al Yankovic Story, earning praise for his comedic timing and total commitment. He's continued working off-Broadway and in indie cinema, often choosing roles that are strange, challenging, or completely unexpected. Now 35, Radcliffe keeps his personal life largely private. He's been in a long-term relationship with actress Erin Dark since 2012 after meeting on the set of Kill Your Darlings. In 2023, the couple welcomed their first child, a son. He's spoken openly about his struggles with alcohol in his early 20s and his journey towards sobriety and self-acceptance. Through it all, he's never turned his back on Potter. He honors it, jokes about it, and understands what it means to fans.